Through a Western eye, Japanese culture can often seem weird, unknown, and quirky, and it's been that way all throughout history. Ranging from ancient sword culture to geisha makeup removal and more, we have quite the menagerie of info for you today. So let's explore. In order to make sure their weapons were effective and very sharp, samurai carried out the practice of tameshigiri, or cutting tests. So in order to test the weapons, they used dead bodies. Usually those of criminals, but yes, they did also use living prisoners who had been sentenced to death. But hey, the cold one, a little harder. Sometimes they would use as many as 3 bodies at once to put their weapons to the test. Because the sword's value was based on its strength, this was a practice that helped young metal workers learn to hone their craft. Tests could also be done with bundles of bamboo, steel plates. Samurai wanted the sharpest swords possible to facilitate the end goal of their kenjutsu, or swordmanship training, also the nakiuchi, death by one single blow. Very important things for a samurai. So they actually carried 2 swords, the katana or big sword and the wakizashi or little sword. Collectively, the 2 swords are known as the daisho, and only samurai were allowed to carry them. They also carried a dagger called a Ponto, and the wakizashi was shorter and thinner than a katana, and you wore that at all times. Because it was easier to carry and maneuver, it was easily taken indoors and kept under one's pillow at night. For safety! The wakizashi was also used to cut off the head of an enemy slain in battle, giving it special significance to the samurai way of life. It was also the sword used if a samurai took his own life through the practice of seppuku, which we'll talk about it more in a moment. So, according to About.com, if you were geisha, you would use the dung of nightingales to remove your very thickly applied makeup at the end of each day. And when I say thickly applied, I mean cake dung, not just theater makeup, like heavy. The first step is to apply binsuke, which is a type of wax that acts as a barrier between the skin and the cosmetics, so the primer. Then there's oshihoi, the white face powder, which is made up of lead, zinc, and seashells, crunchy and lethal. Beni is used on the eyes, lips, and brows and is a crimson powder made from crushed safflower petals. Beni is used on the lips to create a flower bud effect, and mako is used strictly for the lower lip. The red beni is also used to sculpt the outside corner of the eye and to create a subtle pink contour on the cheeks and nose. To achieve a delicate effect, eyebrows are painted crimson and then black with charcoal. Some folks also shave their eyebrows just to make it easier. Hair is brushed with wax to keep it in place, and thanks to the guanine, which is a natural cleanser for the skin, and that's the bird poop, it makes a great makeup remover, and also a purifying facial mask. The Daily Mail actually reported recently that Tom Cruise rubs a mixture of nightingale poop, rice bran, and water on his skin on a regular basis to keep his youthful look. And while I'll admit he looks okay for his age, I'm not taking beauty tips from a Scientologist. The annual Ponto festival has been around for centuries, and this is where men dressed up as evil spirits roam the streets of Miyakojima, Okinawa, to chase people. These men will be covered in mud and foliage, and folks touched by a Ponto will have good fortune for the coming year. A common feature is a wooden mask with a large forehead, small eyes, and a thin mouth, and the spreading of sacred mud onto newly built houses or onto young folks' faces. It's for luck. In some villages, the Ponto are accompanied by traditional priestesses. When I saw the photos of these men in full costume, it reminded me that pagan traditions can be found everywhere, from Africa to Europe and beyond. There's not a lot of info I could find on the exact historical origins of this festival, but the photos of the evil spirits are terrifying. I feel like a lot of Western swamp monsters and haunted attractions might have drawn inspiration from them, and if they didn't, they should. If there's one strange Japanese ritual you've probably heard about before or seen on television, it's probably this next one. The Kanamara Matsuri, or Festival of the Iron Phallus, is definitely a sight to behold. The exact dates vary. The main festivities fall on the first Sunday in April, and the phallus, as the central theme of the event, is reflected in illustrations, candy, carved vegetables, decorations, and a whole dang parade. Also, give some love to the editor in the comments because he's probably hating me right now for not being able to show y'all any of this. Dating back to the 1600s, this festival was originally held as a means to guard against transmitted diseases. The Kanamara Matsuri is centered on the Kanayama Shrine, where the god Kanayama Hiko and the goddess Kanayama Hime are hanging out. They are both gods of blacksmithing, metalsmithing, and metalworks, and are also prayed to for easy birth, marital harmony, and protection from transmitted infections. Be prepared for phallic hats, puppets, floats, costumes, and even lollipops. At the festival, 3 portable shrines known as the Kakiyamara Mikoshi, Kanayama Boat Mikoshi, and Elizabeth Mikoshi are patrolled. This is one of the rare moments where folks that are usually reserved, you'll see them go all out on the streets of Kawasaki. Today it has become something of a tourist attraction and is used to raise money for HIV research, which is awesome! Next up we have the Naki Sumo Matsuri, which is one of the most bizarre festivals I've ever heard of. This tiny people crying competition involves 2 sumo wrestlers, each holding up a spawn each. The referee then puts on scary masks and attempts to make the little ones cry, and the loudest and longest longest crier is declared the winner. This 400-year-old tradition is said to keep the young ones in good health, and also folks believe the crying of a young one helps to ward off evil spirits. And I know superstitions tend to be common in a lot of aspects of Japanese culture. The festival is held annually at Shinto shrines throughout Japan, most commonly on or around May 5th, to coincide with the Young Folks' Day at the end of the Golden Week holiday. The specific customs and traditions of each festival vary by location, but the main focus of every festival is a ritualistic prayer for the good health of each participant and the competition. The staff at each shrine hand-make 4-pronged kabuto helmets for each participant to wear during the crying competition and create commemorative gifts and souvenirs for the parents of the young folks involved. The best-known festival is held each year in Asakusa, Tokyo, where student sumo wrestlers of the local temple hold the young in their arms, and when they begin to cry, the student wrestlers raise the crying humans higher in the air, which is believed to strengthen the blessing endowed on each crying person. At the Gokoku Shrine in Hiroshima, tiny participants are dressed in kimono and seated facing one another on pillows while a referee encourages them to cry. Now, eligible competitors must be very young. We're talking under 18 months at the time of the festival. The festival is free and open to the public. However, some shrines and temples require that parents submit an application or pay a fee to participate. Some locations are so popular that participants are chosen by lottery, so parents are going to travel all across Japan to find a place to participate. In Japan, the 3rd of March is traditionally known as Hina Matsuri and is a celebration of young girls as they grow into adulthood. Activities include setting up an exquisite display of Japanese dolls featuring a noble family and eating snacks and festive sushi. Now, there is a very strange aspect of Girls' Day celebrations, or Hina Matsuri, in Tokyo that involve farts. As straightforward as it sounds, let me read the description for you. Everyone will get to experience the farts firsthand, smell and sound of beautiful girls. However, be warned that the success of the event is still dependent on the physical conditions of the girls and their abilities to fart. Yeah, that's real, folks. The 2018 version of the event featured 3 farting stars of the adult film industry, and the event also featured an Onara battle planned, which was a delightful play on Onara, which was the Japanese word for fart. So in this contest, participants had to freestyle rap and then end their verse with gas. Whoever could successfully punctuate their rhymes with a raspberry would rule the roost. To each their own. Japanese game shows can be totally bonkers, and some are so off the hook they wouldn't even be allowed to be screened in any other country. These game shows often put the participating contestants in staggeringly humiliating situations. They can be downright odd, like one game show in which an item in the room is replaced with a look-alike item made of chocolate, and contestants have to try to find it by biting into objects. Or they can be downright disgusting, containing gore and explicit material I'm not allowed to talk about. One thing for sure, these are not Wheel of Fortune. Japanese game shows embrace weirdness to the full extent, and you either love them or you hate them. Kabuki is a classical form of Japanese theater, mixing dramatic performance with traditional dance, and it is known for its heavily stylized performances, its glamorous, highly decorated costumes, and for the elaborate makeup worn by some of its performers. The term kabuki actually originates from a verb that was used to describe young samurai patrons, meaning being weird or offbeat. Kabuki is thought to have originated in the early Edo period, when the art's founder, Izumo no Okuni, formed a female dance troupe that performed dances and light sketches in Kyoto. The art form later developed into its present all-male theatrical form, after women were banned from performing in theater in 1629. Kabuki developed throughout the late 17th century and reached its peak in the mid-18th. In 2005, it was actually proclaimed by UNESCO as a heritage possessing outstanding universal value. And finally for today, way back in the old times, if a samurai was shamed by lack of bravery, a breach of discipline, a betrayal of loyalty, or some other violation of the code, he committed ritual life-taking known as seppuku. Told you I'd talk about it again. This practice, also known as harikiri, varied throughout history but generally involved the warrior taking his weapons, any kind of dagger, and plunging it into the left side of his abdomen. Then he would move it to the right side, yeah, not fun, and pull out his entrails. Then you'd go up to the sternum, out of the stomach, put it in your mouth, fall forward. Other variations had folks disemboweling themselves, and their second in command would take off the head. It was used as a way to avoid falling into enemy hands, and to demonstrate loyalty to a fallen lord. Also, when a samurai took his own life, his wife often followed suit because her husband's shame was her own, and she didn't want to live with that for the rest of her life. And that's the end of our time once again, folks. I've been Alexa, your resident emo girly. See y'all here next time.